Hey guys, Joker the Fool here, back at it again with the 70th episode of the Braxcast, and we are going over the fourth set of Dokuman cards. Of course, I've covered the other three on various episodes of the Braxcast, and the fourth is going to be absolutely no exception to this. So we're going to get started right away. All these cards are fantastic, these big lenticular cards, basically the size of my hand, and I do not have small hands. So this is number 32, and this is Leprido, who makes his first appearance in item number 3. So, real name's unknown, height is 7'10", he's at least 700 pounds, don't know where he's born, and his first appearance is in item number 3. This monstrous beast resembling a bipedal Komodo dragon goes by the moniker Leprido, but he has gone by many names in his reptilian form. His reptilian form, with its blood-red hide and twin tails, renders him unmistakable. The creature was detained at Forest Park's J. Soley Ward, but he is now counted among the very few who have escaped its confines. Leprido has a history with reformed inmate Max Salient. Were these men allies in another life? Perhaps, as he appears to hold animosity towards Salient, who now fights on the side of angels. Leprido will murder, maim, and destroy for anyone who will pay his price. A true monster of a man in every sense. While humans have empathy, Leprido as a reptile is possessed of no such obligations, and his heart is as cold as the blood in his veins. Absolutely love that. Power observations are that Leprido's body has superhuman durability, leaving him nigh impervious to harm. Though imposing in mass, he is incredibly agile and swift when moving on all fours. His raw strength is horrifying, easily able to throw heavily armored military vehicles at airborne targets. But the most curious of his tools is his forked tongue, which he uses with remarkable proficiency in combat. Yes, we definitely saw that Leprido in item number 3 is no slouch. So next up, we've got Harriet Silman. So all these all the art for these cards are done by Will Conrad. Harriet Silman, of course, is Isam's mother, and we have learned in item number 3 that she is an accept. So her first appearance is in the Great War Separation number 1, although she was mentioned at the very end of item number 1. Though not all of them are accepts, the Silman family appears to be filled with individuals of exceptional quality in some form or another. Harriet Silman is no exception to this. Would that this human female be mother to both brilliant projectile scientist Altona Daniels and the vigilante accept Isom? Being remarkable in her own right is axiomatic. Harriet is a God-fearing woman, an adoring wife, and a loving mother who can be gentle or stern as the need arises. She is also quite adept at keeping secrets even from those whom she loves most. The most notable secret she keeps from all but her son Avery is that she's an accept. According to Harriet, one member of each generation of her family can manifest their abilities. What the catalyst for this remains a mystery to me for now, but its genesis arises from being descended from the child healed by Jesus of Nazareth with nothing more than speaking its truth into existence. So that was what was told in item number 3. Our ancestor was healed in Galilee. And of course, if you've read the Gospels, Christ's earthly ministry was focused mostly in Galilee. Of course, his passion happened in Jerusalem. That was Judea. Galilee was to the north. Nazareth was to the north. He was born in Bethlehem, which was in Judea, to fulfill the prophecy. I believe was in Ezekiel. But anyway, that's getting off of the point. Let's get to power observations. As a fabled peaker, Harriet Silman can evince superhuman strength, endurance, durability, and agility. I have witnessed her showcase her abilities in such displays as single-handedly subduing several grown men who dwarf her in mass to facing a terrifying monster of an accept, augmented further by an equally massive suit of armor, and yet she claims her son can do things even she cannot, which is really interesting. So it seems like Isom is more powerful than Harriet, and Harriet certainly is strong, but 5'9", 160 pounds, which that's a bit taller and heavier for a woman. But that's still definitely in line with a typical female proportion, right? But she can take down guys that are like, over 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, big menacing men, because she is an accept, and we see that in item number 3. So really interesting to get that insight on our character in item number 3. And of course, this Dokuman card does give us a lot of information as well, which is really, really cool. So next we're getting into the character of Kleeto. Of course, Kleeto making her appearance in Yaira. Absolutely love this character design. Fantastic. But we're going on to the back of the card, and it reads, of course, 5'10", 145 pounds, born in Atlantis, and her first appearance is in Yaira number 2. This woman is not an except, but rather a member of the advanced race who once populated the mythical Earth city of Atlantis. This civilization was known to possess abilities far beyond those of the average human, with one trait being an uncommonly long lifespan, even centuries. However, it would seem Kleeto is now the victim of some terrible curse, causing her to have an unnaturally long life, even for one of her kind. The cost of this boon was the ritual sacrifice of her 10 sons, meant to be kings, but now exist only as wraiths used to guard their mother's prison beneath the waves. Who could have done something so cruel and unspeakable to this once queen? None other than her king and husband, Neptune, who could not bear for his beloved to leave him in death. This was not seen by Kleeto as the act of great love that he intended, as his queen and bride's hatred for him grows with each day of her unending years. Wow, wow, wee, wow. A brilliant ancient human specimen, will Kleeto's centuries of imprisonment in the depths of the sea, removed from society, hinder her ability to adapt to this new world? Her curse is believed to render her immortal, although this has yet to be truly tested. Perhaps someone will enter this grand stage and reveal how immortal she truly is. Really interesting stuff, and it just leaves us with so many more questions that Yaira 3 and the rest of the ongoing series is sure to answer. But next, we've got Jasmine Newman. Of course, Jasmine Newman is the impetus for Isom getting back into the game, and Isom 3 does reveal a good bit about our character. I'm sure this Dokuman card is going to as well. So we got Jasmine. Real name is Jasmine Newman. Height is 5'6", weight being 122 pounds. Born in Flores Park, Texas, and her first appearance was in Isom number 1. It has been frequent observations of beings on this planet that appearances can be deceiving. This is particularly evident when it comes to this except. Who is Jasmine Newman? Does her beauty and innocent demeanor mask dark desires? This young woman became of interest to me when her God-fearing family entangled Avery Silman, the except known as Isom, into finding her. Unbeknownst to them, Jasmine was no damsel in distress. She came into the employ of one Darren Fontano of her own accord for reasons no deeper than it is simply more lucrative than walking the path of the angels. When Avery attempted to get confirmation of Jasmine's well-being for her concerned family, she seemed disinclined to alleviate their worries. Instead, her invasive tactics have placed Isom, and by extension his family, in the crosshairs of Darren's enforcers. Yet it is due to Jasmine's deception that Isom has stepped out of retirement. Perhaps she is deserving of my thanks. Power observation. Jasmine Newman has the incredible ability to age anything within her direct sphere of chronal energy. I have observed her using this temporal skill to age whiskey and wine. What horrifying effects might this ability have on biological matter, particularly human victims? Would Darren order such a thing? It would strike me as more than probable. Yes, certainly so. Darren is not a nice man at all, as we've learned. Now we're getting into the Dirty Deeds characters. So all the Dirty Deed characters seem to have their own Dokuman cards, which I think is very fitting. I think this is indicative that we're getting more Dirty Deeds, and hopefully we do. But this is Rinlin. Absolutely beautiful character design. Love how Will Conrad draws this. And of course, these lenticular cards are always so cool. And you have to get at least one of these decks in person just to see this, because my camera cannot, the camera on my phone cannot do it justice. I don't think any camera certainly can. But this is Rinlin. Of course, that's her real name. Height is 5'5", weight 145 pounds. Birthplace was Valeria Fia, if I'm saying that correctly, and her first appearance was in the Ferrari Repazine in that short story. This Tunia, the Tunia, are a race known for their sensuality, but this Rinlin is renowned throughout her world as a murderer after learning a dark secret of her planet's leadership. In her rage, she scrambled their leader's mind beyond recognition or repair. She was sent to prison while awaiting execution, but Rinlin stood as a prodigy among her people and was given a second chance to use her extraordinary abilities to serve a greater cause with galactic intelligence with a galactic intelligence group. Is she sincere in dedicating herself to the identifying and eliminating threats across the galaxy? She now serves as the leader of the Dirty Deeds crew, a group that would otherwise be known as mere lowly space pirates. Their notoriety stems from discovering the last one, a fearsome weapon which must never fall into the wrong hands. One might say it already has. Only time will tell if they become saviors of this universe or its destroyers. Quite interesting. Power observations show that one could be forgiven for being distracted by her sultry physical form, but it is her mighty mind, the source of her psychic abilities, which is the most formidable and also very costly. She possesses powerful telepathy and mind control, and can even dive into a being's memory, so the record says. Quite interesting. But next we've got Arid, or Arad, however you want to pronounce that. Really epic drawing here. Of course, got that really cool sword there, and I just love the character. I love basically all the character design through the Rippaverse. But on to the card here. So name is Arad Carr. Height is 6'5", 310 pounds, with augmented parts and a skeleton. And he's got the Heliostron is his place of birth, and of course appearing in Dirty Deeds and Represine at number 3. So this brute hails from the proud Levdaxian race, a high-ranking former military office knight. He is now consumed by a single-minded quest for revenge. Arid was betrayed and manipulated by his uncle into overthrowing the royal family of Lavdax, killing them and his betrothed princess in the process. Allied with his cousin and accomplice Solia, Arid managed to procure a fearsome war relic known as the Singularity Sword. Arid's rage proved all-consuming, with the blade's own blood first feeding off it all the more. Though he left countless lives lost in his warpath, his traitorous uncle managed to escape his grasp. Arid and Solia were forced to flee their home world. In the aftermath, he currently finds himself on the Dirty Deeds crew, but his desire for revenge upon his betrayer still grows. Can this insatiable bloodlust ever be controlled? It could cost his teammates their very lives. If not, I shall maintain a careful watch on this one. That's Dokumaan'S explicit commentary. Power observations, a proficient soldier and brilliant military tactician. Arid is a force to be reckoned with. He is a masterful strategist. His Singularity Sword, also known as the Last One, is a living weapon and an object of immeasurable malice. I have witnessed Arid falling into a berserker rage from which no one is safe, not even his own kin. It's going to be really interesting with Dirty Deeds. Hopefully there's more to it, because it seems like there's just so much involved, or so much lore behind those 16 pages that Carol has got in her mind. Hopefully she gets greenlit to write a whole bunch. But we've got the character of Solia, who's mentioned here. Of course, another epic drawing from Will Conrad, and this is really nice lenticular design. I know can't show it off too well here, but that is what it is. So we've got Solia Carr, height 5'10", 207 pounds, and like Arid has got the augmented parts and skeletons, and she was born in Heliostron, same place as him. An orphaned Levdaxian who began her life in much duress, losing her father in war and her mother to taking her own life because of the loss of her mate. However, Solia herself has proven to be remarkably resilient. Solia enrolled in medical programs to join the Corpse Corps. Perhaps this was her way of preventing others from perishing in combat and sharing the same traumas as she. Her career ended abruptly when her commanding officer ordered her unit to remain behind and die while the officer fled. Finding this order contemptible, Solia elected to take her commander's life per Levdaxian custom. This should have landed this spirited warrior a life sentence in prison. Instead, Solia was placed under house arrest under the watch of her respected cousin Arid Carr. When Arid's uncle manipulated him into war crimes, she aided Arid in obtaining the legendary and fearsome Singularity Sword. The two are now outcasts and fugitives from the world, taken in by the crew of Dirty Deeds. Power observations that Solia's special Levdaxian medic suit enhances her abilities, allowing her to operate on par with her male peers. A skilled medic, Solia is equally adept at taking lives as she is at saving them. Solia's suit possesses active camouflage, and she has a fascinating relationship with her companion AI unit called Nurse, which I yearn to better understand. I do as well, Dokuman. Hopefully we get more dirty deeds and we can find out. But next we've got Felisar. So Felisar, another epic character design here, and another really cool use of the background of the lenticular card. So can't really show it off, but I can definitely see it and it looks epic. So height is 5'11". That's Felisar Sin, and weight is 195 pounds, born on Zerkai, and of course, appearing in the third Ripazine with Dirty Deeds. So this infamous outlaw quickly rose through the ranks of one of the galaxy's largest criminal networks, the Nebula Star Syndicate. With quick hands and even quicker wit, Felisar of the Meanax species has a desire for notoriety or infamy, and fancies himself a, quote, smooth talker. Though I have observed his fast mouth land him in trouble as often as it gets him out of it, Felisar's most prized pilfering is the undergarments of an alien queen, an odd item which he keeps framed in a place of honor in his lodgings aboard the Dirty Deeds. Felisar was used as a scapegoat to take a fall for a syndicate, but was spared by Rinlin, who saw potential in his unique talents and connections in the criminal underworld. This lawbreaker made the acquaintance of cousins Arad and Solia Kar when charged with breaking them out of prison, but decided to remain in their company after the job was done. Could his claim of desiring fun be merely a facade to mask a desire for true companions? Power observation is that Felisar Sin is a master thief and highly sought after for his quick-handed abilities, claiming he can steal anything in the known universe. The greater the prize, the greater the thrill. His Meanax stature blesses him with agility and sharp claws and talons, which he can use to great effect. I have also observed Felisar to be remarkably skilled with knives and bladed combat, along with the use of firearms. Absolutely wonderful. So next we've got Spingy. So Spingy, I think, is like the knockout in terms of Dirty Deeds. I think he's the one that is the one character of Dirty Deeds that fans really attached themselves to and really like. Of course, he's got that shirt that is a homage to Spider-Man, and I do like his character. He definitely seems like one who's going to have like the most arc. So his real name is Kiztilkar Hakzov. That's that nice pronunciation guide there, although I'm sure I butchered it. Only 4'4" and 85 pounds, a really small thing, and he was born on Cassette Ul Viraz, if I'm even saying that correctly. It is called Arcanea by outsiders, so it's got an X in them. That's the formal term. If that's a formal term for something for a place of or a country, or I guess a planet in this case, that has a name that people who aren't from it call it. It's called an exonym. So Arcanea is the exonym, and that's a lot easier to pronounce. So at first glance, this diminutive arachnid appears to be a pathetic representation of his otherwise intellectually and mechanically superior race. This feeble-minded Zeriflian, or space spider, was exiled from his homeworld for being considered below the acceptable levels of intelligence for his people. Yet even with his mind being lowly among his race, it is far beyond that of most other life forms across the cosmos. This comparative simple-mindedness that brings him such joy in simply being useful to others. Despite his exile, Spingy was not alone for long, quickly befriending fellow outcast and an anomaly sensu artificial human called Beetles. The friendship forged between the two led them to a more permanent position within the crew of the Dirty Deeds. How useful will he prove with this group of would-be criminals? Most curiously, the hardships of his life haven't affected his temperament, possessing an almost nurturing demeanor, childishly referring to this crew as his family. Power observations. This childlike creature displays remarkable aerial grace when swinging from his webs. He can create using silk from his hands with the requisite protein to make it, which must take significant energy to maintain. An exceedingly gifted engineer, he can repair and even improve any machine with the most unassuming material. So it seems like Spingy is like the like lowest common denominator of a super advanced race. So he's going to be a really interesting character. And since he's got this childlike disposition, it's going to be, if the Dirty Deeds, hopefully they get an ongoing series, I think, with the amount of lore that these Dokuman cards are establishing is 100% justified. But at least a limited series, about 250 pages or so, is what really has to happen for me to consider the Rippaverse to still respect the customer, because of how loved the Dirty Deeds are. And of course, getting these Dokuman cards means that there's going to be more Dirty Deeds. Like, I think that's basically a guarantee, because these have been like the last, I don't know, 4 or 5. So basically, like half of this deck has been dedicated to the Dirty Deeds. But now we've got Beetles, who's basically the only human in the Dirty Deeds, it seems. Another epic drawing by Will Conrad here. And we are going to read this out. So this is 6'1", 210 pounds, all metal. And his real name is Beetles, the name he gave himself, and he was born in the Sensu Factory, 112A4. Originally a Sensu artificial companion until a client renting him for the night infected him with a free will virus, granting him full autonomy and self-awareness. Considered ruined, he was eventually salvaged by a space captain who saw him as more than mere parts for his vessel, seeing instead great potential in him and making him his co-pilot, something at which he quickly proved to be exceptional. Hungry for knowledge, with a blossoming personality of his own, he immersed himself in human culture, discovering frequencies that moved him. The captain eventually retired, leaving Beetles alone once again with only a ship and his love for spaceflight. Fate would have it that this loneliness was not meant to be, as he encountered another outcast, a Zerlifian named Spingy, whom he would befriend and travel with for many cycles before finding themselves a new home as part of the Dirty Deeds crew. So Beetle's original purpose is why he never tires nor requires sleep. He has the talent to hack the most labyrinthine of computer systems, though he often abstains, remarking that he finds the practice discourteous. Quite notably, this being is also an adept marksman, particularly in the matter of hitting long-distance targets. So he's not human, but he's an android, which is really interesting. It seems like to be a humanoid android, which seems to be that there's a more advanced technology that humans have that Flores Park would imply. So it's really interesting to see how this all fits in with the broader Rippaverse. But that is the Dokuman, archives, the 4th set of Dokuman cards. So we are all caught up on the Dokuman archives for now. We'll leave the 5th deck is coming with, can remember correctly. I think it's sure it's Horseman number 1. I can't remember, but the 5th deck is already been released. We didn't get Zalen in this deck, which is a bit of a disappointment, but hopefully we get that with the 5th deck. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Braxcast. Joker is out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.